Receive $200 off your ticket at Manifest using our link today. We are excited to once again partner with Manifest for their upcoming event, Manifest Vegas, from February 5th to 7th, 2024. Dubbed the world's largest global supply chain and logistics tech gathering that promises a unique blend of Fortune 500 supply chain executives, fresh startups, and tech pioneers. Be among the 4,500 plus supply chain innovators, and remember, by using our exclusive link, you can save $200 off your ticket. Don't miss out. Prashant Shah, the Chief Supply Chain Officer at SwagUp, thank you so much for joining us today. Could you please introduce yourself to our audience, to tell them who you are and what you do for a living?
Absolutely. So I am the Chief Supply Chain Officer for SwagUp. I joined about 2 years ago. Currently, I have warehousing, sourcing, procurement, CX, and logistic under my belt. Continue to make sure that they are proficient and productive and most efficient for our customer experience perspective. And prior to this, I had a very interesting career. I used to work for Fortune 500 companies like Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, Macy's. Also worked for private equity-owned companies like Drive Medical, LaserShip, and now Casper as well. And I started my career in military for about 8 years, where I also did partial I was a supply chain and I was a linguist for the Marine Corps. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
Very cool. Would you say you got your first experience in logistics in the military?
Yes, for the military side of it, yes, I did. Was opening base in a combat zone. I joined military right after 9/11. I was as soon as 9/11 happened, I went to the doorsteps of Marine Corps, a recruiting agency, or the front storefront, you can also say, and just asked them where to sign up. And from there, my journey started. And one of the
how old were you? How old were you when you did that?
20 years.
Oh,
20-year-old. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I just came to the country and literally 6-7 months prior to that, and I wanted to be in the military since I was a kid, but 9/11 happened, pissed me off, and I'm like, gotta do something about it. So why not me?
Oh, that's awesome. That's pretty awesome.
That's awesome from the point of view that you didn't grow up in America. You said you came 6 to 7 months before you enlisted in the military for the U.S.
Yes.
That's beautiful. So I mean, thank you, Prashant, for your service. I kind of wanted to touch on, like, I guess I know this is something you also are passionate about, is like leadership. And your experiences from the military, I'm guessing you garnered a lot of leadership, kind of like the ability to be a leader. Can you take us through like what you learned in the military from like a leadership point of view that you take to like the companies that you've worked for in the past and work for now?
Absolutely. So I would say there are many things, of course, I learned in the military on many bases. I would say the most important thing that why military is so not known for camaraderie and brotherhood perspective, it's because they teach us and mold us on being adaptable, right? Being also resilient. And that also help us to be ready to face any challenges, right? So that's where they mold us. What we also learn from it is to get to the mission completion mode, we have to be excellent in communication, because literally your life is in somebody's hands at that point. You are having each other's backs. In civilian world, we use those terms. I will say, no offense to anybody, but a little bit loosely. But literally in military, when you're in the war, your life is in somebody's hands. So if you don't communicate properly, something bad is going to happen that you cannot revert back to. There is no second shots. There is no second chance. So when I look at it, you have to be 100% ready for everything what's throwing at you, but also be that, everybody said, be like water, just flow as it goes, see what's happening, make turns that needs to be, and be ready for all the obstacles. And that's the one big thing I learned, and I continue to bring that on board now. And since I joined this side of the world, I can say, because military was a big part of my career. So I always look at military and civilian side, I think we still have a lot of learning needs to be done. We take a lot of things grantly, and we just gotta make sure we take this opportunity, because to me, this is a privilege to go home in a one piece, see family every single day, play with my kids, do whatever I please to do in the evenings or any time off. And that's happening because the folks down there is really doing what they have to do to make sure our borders are secure or fighting against the terrorism and so forth. So I believe we have to figure stuff out, what we have to do on this side to continue the economy moving the right pace and the right way.
Yeah, that's it's so deep and so true. It's actually a topic that Rita and I have discussed many times, like how, a lot of people in America take what they have for granted. They don't actually, like, they've never visited other countries. They don't understand what it's like to maybe be poor and not have food on the table, or have bombs flying over. It's like the fact that someone is healthy in America, like, and has their family around them, it's like you won the lottery. You won like the most expensive, or I don't know, the best lottery in the world, right? And like Rita and I talk about that all the time. So really do respect that. And for the communication aspect, I know, like, that's obviously in logistics, communication is vital. Everything revolves around communication. I'm wondering, Reed, do you want to touch on anything real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm interested in how your experience, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but like your experience in the military, obviously, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, wars are won with logistics, right? Wars are won by being able to bring supplies just about anywhere in the world at a moment's notice, right? And when it comes to the U.S. military, it's like that takes the shape of ships and planes and trucks and just about everything everyone else would think of. But it's like what the operation, I mean, you must have gotten in there. Were you wanting to go into supply chain when you joined, or how did that happen?
No, it's in the military, it's called ASVAB scores. So basically you get scores regarding, some people go in intelligence, somebody goes in combat, ground combat, somebody goes and fly planes, depending of course what they want to do, but also what you get slated for. I was slated for supply chain, but soon I became the translator because I know 6 languages at that point. So that really helped them out to do supply chain as well as translating, because we were in different countries. So I was the opening base with those locals, and that really helped to kind of maximize that output, basically.
So you were literally showing up in a country, you knew the language, you spoke to people, and you're like, hey, we're setting up a base here, and you took it from. Is that what you did?
Basically, talk to the locals, governors, and so forth. I learned the language while going there, so I did not know the language prior to that. I learned first one within 60 days. I only knew how to understand and speak. I do not know read to write. But they are in the military. There's a courses that I can take and test I can take. So I just picked up the book and start reading and see if it helps. And it started helping. It's a completely different language in Afghanistan, and I just happened to pick a book. I was thinking on the ship, I'm like, there's 25,000 Marines going, and none of us knows the culture or the language. What the heck are we gonna do? So I'm like, let me just see if I can even start learning the keywords like health, water, things like that. And I just happened to get the neck of learning languages, which I did not know prior to that.
Wow. Hey there, amazing listeners. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on our podcast, we need your support. It will only take a moment, but it would mean the world to us. Please make sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share with one of your friends that would enjoy our content. Your engagement helps us reach more people and bring more awesome episodes to you. Thanks a million, and thanks for being part of the podcast community.
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. And now, Prashant, when you're leading, you're this chief supply chain officer at SwagUp. And I mean, SwagUp does a lot of shipments, I could imagine. Like, what do you implement in your team, like specifically, I guess, stuff that you've taken from the military? Like when you talk to your team, I know you mentioned communication is very important, but how do you structure that, and how does your overall day look like? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I will talk a little bit about my values first, what I bring to the table and what I install. So the first thing I always say, the team and the people under my team needs, and always I have tried to embed some pride in them, right? Because that goes a long way. Um, we can throw as much money as them. That doesn't mean anything at the end of the day if they don't have pride in what they do. So that's something is extremely important. As I say, communication and ops excellence is always on top of my forefront. Anything I do a transactional project or transformational project, those things are very, very important. And everything, all that holds on the core values of integrity, right? Like end of the day, we need to be true to ourselves and saying, okay, can we do this or not do this? And if not, then how can we do that? So those kind of open communications, open dialogues is extremely important. Those are the values that I bring it in to be in a nutshell is integrity, communication, I will say ops excellence. Those three is the main core value that I bring into the team. And the one and few ways to do it is continue to innovate, collaborate, and build trust and pride within them. So that's in a nutshell of the values and how the priorities, my leadership priorities looks like. On a daily basis, I would say my day is divided between people, process, technology, as I always say, everywhere. However, mine is 70% people, always, 20% process, 10% technology. Because I can have robots going around in the building. I can put $1 billion square foot building with robots in it. But if the people doesn't understand what that can do for us and why we have it, is going to be useless. So end of the day is about educating people the right way and letting them know what's incoming towards them. So 70% time in people side, 20% process, and 10% technology. This is where I am right now at this phase.
Okay. Very, very interesting. Reed, anything to add?
No, I just liked what you said about I liked what you said about pride, because I feel like that's something that not a lot of, I've only, I've gone through training at a couple of different places. I feel like we're lacking just like being proud of what we do. And that was probably instilled in you in the military. And that's like, I just think that's really good, because if you take pride in your work, you're going to do a good job. And if everyone around you is taking pride in their work, then they're going to do a good job. And that's like an infectious thing. So I'm just curious, how do you get that message to people? Because saying it is one thing, but you almost have to embody it. And if you embody it, that's like how it really spreads. So I'm just curious on that.
Sure. So one of the ways I always do that by making sure the leaders under me, especially the leadership team, like managers or supervisors or VPs and directors, so forth, they all have two types of projects. One is called transactional projects, and one is called transformational projects. Transformational projects basically is a high-level project that's going to move the needle on a financial sides of it, or a customer experience side, or it could be both, and taking basically our narrative in our hands, right? Like we are not waiting for somebody else to do that work. Is basically we are working on it. Transactional is more process related, internal process related, how we can get a bandwidth underneath ourselves itself. The biggest thing about those projects is it breaks away those leaders from day-to-day routines and focuses them on what truly business needs are. And once they get the taste of those success, or even not the success, just the process of it sometimes, they start getting more embedded and have pride in their work. Because nobody wants to do the same thing over and over again every single day. That's why we have robots. Let the robots do those things. Let people do what they are built for and being curious. People are curious animals, believe it or not. We just got to bring them out to start thinking like that way and just say why we need to do, what we need to do, when we need to do, and all those good questions, and let them deliver it. And I also talk a lot about certain leaders, like don't be the last one to speak. Always in the room. Don't give their opinions. Just say we have 4 or 5 problems, and what can we solve first? And let's hear from the ground troops itself.
I like that. Yeah. That's something I want to implement moving forward. I like that a lot, though. Prashant, can you take us a little bit into the logistics of SwagUp? Like, how many shipments a day do you do? Because they're all parcels, right?
They are all parcels. We do thousands of shipments. Now, shipments could be so. Let me give you a good example, and I'm not doing not a marketing guy or I'm not going to be do a good job as some of like my CEO or someone else. But basically, SwagUp, we are in a promotion industry where we build over 70% of our revenue comes from onboarding packs. However, we are also does a lot of other items for the customers. We only B2B perspective, and we build swag packs, right? You have it right now on your please advise ads and so forth. We build that exactly, FreightCaviar hoodies, and so that's what something we do, and we do it very very well. And when I'm looking at a swag up on the logistics side, we do tons and tons every single day. It could be product that going in domestic, could be going international. We do 22%, 22% international shipments all over the world, of course, and then remainder in domestic. And I would say we are one of the two things we have definitely nailed down is the technology piece that we connect with our, it could be upfront shops to the customer or directly connecting API to their side of the technology piece or infrastructure they have. And the second piece of quality. I've been here 2 years, and yes, we have complaints just like any other companies that you out there. But we don't get complaint on, hey, your technology is a problem or your quality is a problem. Those three things we have nailed it down. Other things we are still working on it, and will continue to work on that. So that's where we are in a nutshell.
Very interesting. Reed, any questions?
Yeah, I just think that the whole company swag is hard to do well, and like if anything, if a company half-asses it and does it poorly, then I almost as an employee, this has happened to me in the past where I've gotten some company swag and it's been crappy, and I've been you just think less. You would almost rather not get anything than get crap.
All right.
And so doing good quality, good packaging. I mean, the pictures on your guys' website looks great. I mean, it looks awesome. So I imagine you're able to really, and the hardest part of doing it well is knowing what to buy, knowing there's a lot of decisions for in HR or whoever would do this at a company who would take on swag. So you guys, it looks like you remove a lot of the guesswork from them.
Yes.
and really ultimately deliver a good product, which is pretty awesome. Wow.
Right. And there's a distinct difference here than other swag companies versus ours. Other swag companies don't want to deal with people. So supply chain is not part of that process. They just have most of them has a storefront or a tech website, and then it directly probably is drop ship from manufacturer directly to the customer doorstep, which you do lose the QA portion of it, right?
Yeah.
We do everything in-house. So yes, the manufacturer, some of the things we do it in-house, and some it comes from the manufacturer or other suppliers, but we do 100% QA checks. We don't do random audits only. Every product is checked in the warehouse, and then it goes out. We build the packs for the customer, and we also store it. So now an HR person or a VP of sales or whoever, they don't need to worry about anything. We keep it in-house, and they can say, hey, you have 100 packs, Prashant, of this particular company in the warehouse. We just hired 10 people in Philippines. Can you please send those? We slap the labels of their home addresses and send it out. Or they can just say, hey, all 100 packs, can you please send it into a new office in Canada? And we do that too. So we give that flexibility to our customer, and they can mix match the product too. If they have 10 different items, they say, hey, it's Christmas time or it's a holiday time. We want to build a pack out of the 100 items you have. We can add those 3 items, 5 items, however they want to. So we have found a niche in this industry, and we will continue to take those market shares. And we go from there. We're only 6 years old company, and we are almost $50 million revenue company. So that speaks volume right there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm wondering, Prashant, because I know that we got connected because of Manifest. You'll be attending Manifest in February. You were there
Right.
this year as well. And Manifest has a lot of a large focus is technology and logistics, kind of where is our industry headed. what were your takeaways from like this year's conference and overall, like, why do you attend Manifest, and what do you maybe like implement that you've seen at Manifest into your strategy at SwagUp?
Sure. So I want to back it up. I attended Manifest as one of the speakers for Manifest last year, or this particular year, I can say. And the few things that I continue to bring on board, not on just speaking on the stage, which I'm very passionate about, is being sustainable approach to this industry, as well as, a technology perspective, how we including our AI, data analytics, IoT, blockchain, right? Route optimization, and all these practices, demand forecast practices, into this arena, and continue to build other businesses, because promotional industry itself is very disarray, I can say, or disjoint in many ways. There is no central place where you can go and say, hey, this is how we should be doing as an industry. So this is something, so supply chain is not the main function of promotion industry, to be very honest. And that's something I'll continue to bring on board.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. When it comes to like robots, that kind of stuff in a warehouse, can you kind of talk about that? Like, do you actually have robots at the SwagUp warehouse?
No, we don't. I used to have in other companies that I'm the one who implemented, me and my team in LaserShift. We started working on automation and robots and all this other good stuff. In SwagUp, it doesn't call for it right now. I still need more volume. I still need more orders to come through. And because we are such a niche, robots cannot do QA process. Robots will not able to do prep and pack of those boxes yet. So we are keeping that away because ROI also doesn't state for it. So I just recently was talking on one of the conference, and I spoke literally about this particular topic too. And I told it's small, medium, and large companies all have different objectives or different way of doing businesses, and you have to go into our ROI perspective and see how much cash you have. If you have cash for 1 year, your ROI cannot be 2 years long. So how can you build your ROI under your cash that you have it in the bank? So that way, when ROI hits the final limit, you start building those cash into those bank accounts. Because if ROI is beyond that, then it will not make sense. So same process here. Anything that I'm doing, if I'm bringing the robots, it could be a 3-year. I have done the analysis. It was 3+ years ROI. We are not ready for it. We need more volume. We need to be at $150 million revenue, which we will be at that point. It'll be a good time to start installing those things.
Do you guys
and also, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, like, so you guys go out to all the manufacturers of all these you probably have a lot of vendors, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, when I started, we had 600 vendors, all US based. Okay. And now we are, I would say I curated to top about 30 vendors to be our 70% of our cost now.
Nice. Yeah.
We are bringing it down. We are minimizing that number, but at the same time, we are not taking any chance on quality. Quality has to be top notch. If quality is not there, I'm not even talking to them.
And so you guys probably have a pretty decent idea of like when people order what sort of items, right, around the holidays. Like how do you like forecast? How do you know, okay, we need X amount of water bottles from this vendor? How do you know we need these many notebooks? Like, that just seems like a lot of work. And if you get that wrong, it just leads to delays and you can't really ship stuff fast. So
correct. I would say we are only 50% accurate because 2 reasons. First, promotion industry is much more disconnected than regular e-com perspective. Mm-hmm. It has a more ebbs and flows and who is coming and whatnot. And plus, our whole model is based on other businesses. So let's say tomorrow Microsoft comes in, which is one of our customers. They come in and say, we are opening 3 offices and we need this, this, and that. That will definitely give us more peak season volume. But suddenly they come and say, for example, hey, we are not hiring anymore.
Mhm.
That also hurts us directly. So that is one good example of it. So I will say our forecast is only 50% accurate. And plus, we don't also have that much of data. If you look at our growth has been in double digits, and we can't even compare to ourselves because we have not found the stagnant points. So because we have not found it, it's very hard for us to say, hey, this is going to be our volume, and this is what we need to order or pre-order or check with our manufacturer or suppliers. It's very, very tough to do so at this growth point. I would say once we plateaued or flat out and we say, okay, we took 60% or 50% or 30% of market share, and now we are plateauing out, and now we have to start looking for another side of the revenues or another streams of revenue. That's when I'll be able to say, okay, for onboarding packs only area, this is going to be probably our volume going forward because we have repeat customers.
Mm-hmm.
The trucking industry is crazy right now, and being a broker can be stressful. Managing your invoices, billing, collecting, carrier base, and cash flow can feel like an impossible task. But I can tell you OTR Solutions has figured out the impossible. They eliminate cash flow problems for carrier payments and ensure margin funding in just 24 hours with broker invoice factoring. OTR Solutions takes care of billing and collection processes with your shippers. And with lightning quick and accurate invoicing, your customers will never need another broker to handle their freight needs. Kick back, relax, and let OTR take care of your brokerage. If you want to know more, and I hope you do, check them out at otrsolutions.com/freight-caviar or text OTRFC to 80483 to see what they can do for your business. I'm curious a little bit here. Prashant, you said that you're only about 50% accurate because you're a lot more disconnected from e-commerce. And I'm curious, is it because you're doing B2B technically, like
Correct.
E-commerce compared to e-commerce mostly is it is B2C because it says, right? Like, can you talk about that a little bit, like the reasoning behind that?
So on the e-com perspective or regular, our minimum order volume has to be 25 to 50, right? So we don't do single order. Nobody can just come and right now in our model says, I want one t-shirt, because it costs a lot to do one t-shirt. You have to set up everything from a graphics perspective, marketing perspective, get the logo sets, right, everything. And it's not a cost friendly to our customer either to do one and twos. It's very good. So our minimum is 25 and certain things 50. Once we have that portion of it, that's where we go into that. So our e-com is completely different. We don't do P2C. That's why we don't have that side of the volume. And companies only hire when their needs are. And we have no privilege to understand what projects they have, when they're going to hire, when they're going to stop hiring, what their budgets looks like. It's very tough to know at this point because we do talk to a lot of people, but we probably get insight probably a month, 2 months ahead, but not more than that from the customers.
Makes sense. I'm wondering, this is more of an idea. I don't think you have this at SwagUp, but let's just say, because both Rita and I have audiences online. Like I have FreightCaviar, Rita as Please Advise. Let's just say, for example, we wanted the ability for people in our audience to buy like a SwagUp kit, but obviously we don't want to handle like the logistics of it. Well, Reed might, I don't. Should we create like a SwagUp box where then they could purchase it and then you ship it out to each individual? Mm-hmm. This is obviously a different model than mostly what you're doing, but is that like something that is attainable right now at SwagUp or no?
Yeah, we can. So let me correct this, right? You just wanted to have them to buy one at a time. Am I correct? That's
one at a time, yeah. And they would pay for it.
What we can do is we house it. So we have all 5 items. We do that now. It's called a storefront, basically, right? We have a storefront for certain companies and say their employees can go on that storefront and there's an inventory list that company already bought it with us. And they say, hey, I want a hoodie, I want a socks, I want a hat, I want this and that. They can just build their own box and we can send one at a time. Not an issue at all. We're already doing that.
Okay. And so with it being like a storefront, I could accept payments through Stripe myself.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't be through SwagUp.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Very interesting. I'm also curious because Reed and I used to both be freight brokers, and I know that we discussed this on our intro call a little bit. currently SwagUp only uses parcel carriers like DHL, FedEx. I want you to touch a little bit about which carriers you use, but I also want to know, do freight brokers contact you all the time, like soliciting business? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So going back to your first question about which carriers we use FedEx, DHL, UPS, USPS, Passport for international, OSM for domestic. I would love to have more in my group, but at the same time, I also have to watch the volume and the contract negotiations that I do with them. Then, or I will lose some of the benefits that they give me depending on the volume. So, in the operation structure too, I only have so many bay doors and so forth. So I have to watch the operation side in the warehouse as well. So based on those reasons, I have 6 to 7 parcel carriers right now working with me. And on your second question, do I get calls or emails? Absolutely, I do. I keep them. I always keep them in the back of my pocket. I never say no to anyone. That I always say when something arises, I will connect with them. The reason behind it because you never know what happens. Well, I had a customer that wanted to deplete all their swag from one of the locations and bring it and house it with us. Guess what? That's not parcel. For me, that's a FTL. There was 20 plus pallets, whatnot. Let's bring it on. Now I don't need UPS and FedEx. I get better rates for inbound perspective from regular other carriers, and I connect with them and get the better rates and better services and so forth. So yes, I do get a lot of calls. I try to be as polite and genuine to them as that maybe I may not have something, but I will always keep them in touch just in case. And I also do one take extra steps. I also ask them if they have anybody in the area, they can come and look at my warehouse and understand our business because we are not a traditional a company in promotion industry. We are not. Truly, if you look at our operation, is very, very unique. And I believe we can get the unicorn status in a couple of years. I can almost say that.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure involved in this, right? Like your warehouse is, I mean, running a warehouse is like pretty complicated. And I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I've only recently started to learn a little bit more. I run my own little warehouse here where I ship about 30 hats a week out of my patio office here. And inventory and knowing when to order what and being prepared to ship orders like when they come in and not having fulfillment times be long, it's like that's like really complicated.
Yes, think about this way. My role consists of few high-level items, which automatically pushes down to all the leaders in supply chain, right? It could be on a procurement side, warehousing side, logistics side, and all the good stuff. And few of the things that I work on a high level, and every C-level executive goes through this is number one, change management, right? You always continue to work on that, and it pushes down. On top of running your day-to-day warehousing, you have to work on your change management items, risk management. Anything you bring in, bring out, you got to work on that. Innovations, technology integrations. We also work on market analysis because if we need to use a 3PL or logistic or need to send, we need to understand that. If we need to, in the future, we will be opening another warehouse. We need to understand that side of it as well, which is going to come from the warehouse leadership. We have to work on the stakeholder engagements, right? Internal and external, and make sure that communication is very clear and concise. Strategic partnership with our internal stakeholders. It could be external. It could be a 3PL carrier, doesn't matter. Crisis management. It happens in the warehouse way more than people realize. I've been through many of them. It could be a natural, Mother Nature just throws a curveball at us. It could be fire in the warehouse. It could be a forklift incident or accidents. OSHA could be involved. Police, cops could be involved. A lot of things can go wrong. Market expansion is another one that warehouse takes very, very seriously because now, not just logistically, but physically, they have to figure that portion out. And the last one that I'm pushing this year a lot more is a sustainability and our social responsibility. I think that's a big one that we have not made as an industry a lot of strides into it because it is tough to maneuver. but we should not stop there.
How does that look like, the sustainability aspect? I know I get understand the gist of it, but like when you're working with 7 or 6 parcel carriers who all probably have various initiatives that they want to meet, how does that combine with your effort to also become a unicorn and you want to ship, 10 times as much stuff? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So if you look at last year sometime, NASDAQ came out, or there's a federal law that came out that I read that stated that most of the companies now with the financials, they come out with the quarterly, they have to start providing emission reports and carbon footprint information for government perspective as well as the investor knowledge perspective, right? So now NASDAQ is one of our customers as well. So they asked us, hey, do we have an emission report? I did not, right? I'm one of those guys. We did not have it. Neither our supplier has it, or some of the suppliers are very small. They don't have infrastructure to understand those things. So what I'm working with one of the companies that can provide us some sort of carbon footprint on all our inbound and outbound that I can at least start giving an understanding internally and also give externally to our customer. For in this example is NASDAQ, because if NASDAQ doesn't do it, then nobody else will do it, right? NASDAQ is the one who's pushing this on a corporate level as well. And the other part also, how I look at the sustainability approach is if recently, I think 6 months ago, I went to one of our suppliers and they do embroidery, right? The embroidery threads that they have, we start buying the one that can easily is sustainable and dissolvable after a certain point. So again, you don't have to buy the thread which is plastic made, which is going to stay there forever and nothing, it cannot be dissolved or whatnot. You want to buy sustainable threads to use it as one of the services that we provide to our customer, as embroidery is one of the services that we do provide in this industry and within the company as well. So again, small steps will make a big difference. You can't go and say, I'm going to clear all this carbon emission and footprint, zeroing it out. Not going to happen. We have to take small steps and let our partners make them understand also why it's important, because it's a full group, suppliers, carriers, us as a warehousing, right? I'm also talking to our landlord to see if he can start putting solar, if possible, on our roof, if there's a possibility around it, changing forklifts as well in the warehouse, talking to carriers to understand if they can start also providing some of the emission reporting. They are working on it, but their project is too big. Like for UPS and FedEx and USPS, they're working on it, but nothing is out yet. Just like planes, right? Like if you go and fly right now, it will show you your emission numbers on it, and your flight cost is going to be higher if the emission is low, or carbon footprint is low, right? So if you look at that way, how can we do that in the logistic industry? And that's going to be the key. I think it all starts from technology to understand where we are and then do a reverse engineering from there.
Very interesting. I actually really like this topic. I'm wondering, Reed, do you have any questions on it?
I guess I'm curious, like, is this a push, or is this something that you're having a lot of your customers ask you about? Like you mentioned NASDAQ, they kind of like have pushed you guys to start providing these numbers and like start to understand your operation a little better. Like, do you see other companies ask you for that? If they don't ask for it, are you giving it to them and like saying, hey, here's how we're treating sustainability? Like, it's obviously a good kind of PR move to be talking about that. So I'm just curious about that.
We've partnered with Ascend TMS, the world's most popular and top-rated transportation management system. It's the ultimate tool for all your freight needs. You could use our referral code RA-FreightCaviar ! To receive 3 months of Ascend TMS for free. It only takes 20 seconds to sign up and no credit card is required. You can click the link below to learn more.
So we do have a lot of sustainability items outside of this carbon. Like we have sustainable cardboard boxes that we pack the items in. We also have a lot of clothing line that is also sustainable. So we do all that. With the logistic part of it, we have still not figured out how to be accurate. There's an algorithm outside that you can plug and play and say, okay, how many tons of load went to what distance and whatnot, and it will provide you the carbon footprint. That is still not exactly accurate. And I don't want to give something like that to the customer, but we are working with a couple of the companies. I cannot divulge which ones right now, but working with them to give us that kind of information. And if that becomes more accurate and close to where we want to be, then I will proactively start providing to the company. It's not more of a PR side. I think this is just where we want the world to go, right? I think, yes, it's good for their PR and so forth if they want to use it, but I'm not looking on the PR side for us. It's just something we have to do it, and I want to do it and see where it takes us. As long as the calculations are correct and we can do back-end tracing and we can do reverse engineering from there, that's what matters to me right
now. Prashant, do you have any statistics or data from the parcel carriers on who is taking, I guess, the largest initiative? And do you know which one is the most sustainable option?
No, because they are so large and they all are working towards it. I talked to the UPS and I have talked to the FedEx and I have talked to the USPS and OS. Everybody's trying to do, but it is very hard to get the accurate information out on what phase they are in and when is going to be completed. So I don't have exactly, but I'm getting a full support of anything I need from them, and they are giving it to me.
Very interesting. I know that like all the enterprise shippers, Walmart, Target, they all have, the carbon footprint, or they want to be net neutral with the carbon output by 2040. That's the kind of the timeline they're giving. How do you become carbon neutral though? Because like can you tell us how that works? Because obviously Walmart's never going to be carbon technically neutral. How do you get that back from like the output that they give?
So that is also kind of a myth right now. A lot of people are trying to figure it out. But the one way what the companies are doing is, like, for example, they are hiring this other third-party companies to, like plant the plants or trees out there in other areas in the world. They're saying, hey, it's going to be 10,000, this much carbon emission is going to come out, or footprint, and we need to have this many. There's a ratio and there's an algorithm to have this kind of trees that you can grow and build on it. That's how that's how you are avoiding you. So there's a negative and then there's a positive because of the trees, and that's how you get to the zero. But however, to get from the end-to-end state, we're not going to be done in next 10 years. That means your raw material that you comes out with, it has to be 100% sustainable, which is we are nowhere near. That means all the small, medium, and large suppliers need to understand and be sustainable throughout the whole process. We are nowhere near that. And then us also having that kind of initiatives internally, externally, in the warehouse or sourcing perspective or logistic, we're not there. Minimum 10 years just to even see the needle moving on end-to-end perspective. But when they say zeroing it out, they basically what they're saying, hey, we have this much carbon footprint, but we are investing this much in one of the process. One could be, hey, we are putting this much, we are planting this many trees, that will give us this much oxygen back out and take the carbon away basically from the environment. But it truly doesn't help, because hypothetically and mathematical speaking and science perspective speaking, if I'm having a lot of carbon footprint in New Jersey, but if you're planting the tree in Antarctica or in a Amazon forest, like how that doesn't help New Jersey, right?
Sure.
So it's not apples to apples in my way too, but it's a good starting point. As I said, it's good initiative, but it's going to take years and decades to get to that level.
Sure. That's very interesting. So that makes a lot more sense to me now. Reed,
it's funny because you guys obviously are, operating in the physical world. You have a warehouse, you do all these shipments, you're moving all this product, you've got a bunch of stuff coming in, you got a bunch of stuff going out, and you're working towards it. And it's just a much more complex lift for a company like yours, or like the parcel carriers or anyone like that to to make a difference and make an impact when it comes to like the environment, because you are doing physical things. But you have these software companies out there that are like, oh, we're like carbon neutral. It's like, you don't do anything in the real world. Like, of course it's easy for you to say this, but it's like, you guys are actually doing stuff, and that makes it more difficult, but it almost makes it like more interesting to actually talk about, because I mean, what can you do? Like, there's so many variables in that situation along, you know, from each step of your guys' process that, like, man, 10 years seems like an ambitious, you know, goal to try to make an impact.
Minimum, I'm saying minimum. That's a minimum on what I've been hearing. And trust me, I have find so many partners in supply chain industry just by going through these conferences or just trying to find out the right partners. A lot of people are motivated to get this right. However, it also has to, as people say, right, it takes a village. This is the exact project that is going to take a village to get this going properly.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a big investment for every company because it's, you know, typically more expensive to be sustainable, and usually the end consumer ends up paying for that in some way, shape, or form. But, you know, like, for the most part, individuals do want to live in a more sustainable world. You know, like, it's something that is important for all of us to take care of the planet. So I have seen a lot of venture capital, you know, in recent years being invested in companies that could track carbon outputs, and I know that they exist in logistics too now, and it's something that go ahead, Reed.
No, keep going, because I keep going. So, something after this.
Yeah, I had a podcast almost 2 years ago with it was the vice president of like environment and sustainability at Covenant Logistics out of Chattanooga, and I mean, like, they track everything, and they have a large fleet, and they maintain. I think every 3 years they change out the tractors, and they implement a lot of technology inside of the trucks to make it greener, more sustainable. And then they go to these enterprise shippers and they present this data that they have, you know, and it's not there's a word that people are using, claiming that some companies are greenwashing themselves, you know, making themselves be perceived as being green, when in reality, you know, it's not, you know, the case. And I know that a company that plants trees like a month ago or something came out that they weren't actually planting the trees. So, but overall, what I learned from this conversation with the guy from Covenant, Matt McClellan, if I'm not mistaken, McClellan, is that well, a lot of enterprise shippers value brokers and trucking logistics companies that could provide this data, because like you said, like, even with parcel carriers, it's difficult to get that information. So, like, just something that I want to, like, I guess, reiterate on this podcast, because I've done it before, is like, if you're a freight broker working logistics, transportation, like, being able to present yourself as being green, not by greenwashing, but having real data, implementing a more green kind of vision in your company does pay back. It's an investment. It costs money up front, but enterprise shippers like Walmart, Target, Home Depot, they'll look at that and they'll want to work with you. And even, for example, like, I'm just gonna, I presume that, like, let's say one of these parcel carriers were to come to you, Prashant, and they have all this data and they actually have only electric trucks. They're completely sustainable. Like, you'd probably be more willing to work with them too, compared to other ones. Like, right?
Correct.
So that's just something I kind of wanted to get out there. Reed, go ahead.
Dude, so I clicked onto your guys' jobs page, and I'd noticed that it's 5 years, 200 plus employees, 3,600 customers, 10,000 plus orders, 100% bootstrap. That's not what I was expecting, honestly. Like, I figured the website's nice, looks really good. Bootstrap, like, that's pretty cool. Like, anything about that?
Absolutely. So that's the one thing I also got attracted when I came from. This is probably the smallest revenue company I ever worked with. And two things that attracted. The first one, when I was talking to our CEO, he's ambitious, which I really like about him, and very curious minded. So that's something I've always wanted to work with, people who are curious and not just shooting through the hip, basically. And the second part is it's all about how you truly upscale your business. There will be ups and downs. There will be tough calls we have to make. There will be hiring. There will be firing. There will be layoffs. There will be all those things going to happen. You cannot avoid it. But what we want to get out of it is keeping the controls in the house as much as we can, as long as we can, and go from it. I always say this to anyone, and something about me, I went from the youngest person on the table to the oldest. So I had to change my tone, my demeanor, and my way of talking and approach. And my approach here is, money hides a lot of sin, right? So how can we make sure that, yes, we can still make a lot of revenue and so forth, but also how we can have a better control. And that's what we wanted to continue to do. We want to continue to be bootstrap as long as we can, and as much as we can. I think it just speaks volume about how we are operating. And it takes a toll. To be very honest, it does take a toll. I would love to have 10 more VPs under me. I won't lie. But at the same time, I know that the learnings that I have, it won't be happening with 10 more VPs under my belt. So it's also extremely valuable for young leaders to understand where you want to embed yourself and who you want to embed yourself with for your learnings. Just because somebody is $30 billion company and lots of money and cash, that doesn't mean you're going to have a lot of learning.
Yeah. If anything, you learn more when your resources are constrained because you have to get creative.
Correct.
Reed and Reed and I are big fans of bootstrap companies, and Reed talks about that a lot. Where Reed's like, I don't want to take any money. I want to build it.
Yeah, it's admirable, man. I mean, you guys 5 years, like you said 15 million in revenue.
50.
50. Oh, 50. See, it's just like that's awesome. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
great.
It is.
So that's what I'm saying. It's we're getting there. Of course, we have a lot of challenges, and we're gonna continue to work on those. But it's a good. It's a good journey.
Exciting. So far. That's really exciting. I mean, you've tossed around the word unicorn a lot, and most people associate that with like, we sold for $1 billion, but we raised, $1 billion.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many unicorns that are only unicorns because they raised at a certain valuation and because some VC paid for it, right, or accepted that value. Right. But in reality, it's like the market didn't accept it. They didn't, go publicly. They're not publicly on the markets or anything like that, or bootstrap. So yeah, it's definitely impressive, Prashant.
For sure.
Yeah, we are running up on time here, Prashant. I do want to just ask a couple questions.
Sure.
Like in terms of like, I don't know, books, courses, podcasts, resources, like what do you like to consume from a content perspective to get you in the right mindset? And also maybe going back into your military days, what kind of maybe the content change, or was it, could you just take us back then? Like what did you listen to then or read back then?
So when I was in the military, podcast was not there as much as it's now. So it was more about books, newspapers, or being online, right? That's where. But I always tell individuals, and I think there's a math behind it somewhere, but I heard it this way: take 18 minutes a day to learn something every day. 18 minutes. There's no Saturday, Sundays in there. There's no holidays. 18 minutes a day. Once you come on the flip side, after 365 days, you will be better than 95% people out in the world. If you pick one subject, what do you want to do? 18 minutes a day and just continue to going. Again, this is not my analogy. I did not come up with this, but it does work. I have been working on that for myself for many years, and I pick every time something that I need to work on. The second thing I always look at, continue. There's a big difference people don't understand, or people don't have a good understanding of it. Education versus being educated. Work on both. You can read the books and everything, and then when you apply, you become educated, right? Because you have learnings from it. So you want to work on both sides of it. Being educated, have an education of book knowledge, but when you apply, it becomes you are now educated because now you exactly understood in the life what really takes to get it going. And also continue to read, biographies of successful leaders, right? That's also helps. You don't have to fall on your face to learn from them too. I think it's a combination of all those. I always tell myself, my team, continue to have a pulse on your own learnings and keep it going. And I want to end that particular question with a quote that Bruce Lee used to say, "Knowing is not enough, you must apply." So it doesn't just belong to the Kung Fu side and the karate side, but it also belongs to any aspect of the life, right? So knowing is education, apply is educated. So go from there.
Love it, Prashant.
That's good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation. You're a great guy, Prashant, to talk to.
Thank you. You guys.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Freight Caviar Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, leave a review. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any feedback. If you'd like to have more Freight Caviar content, go to freightcaviar.com and subscribe to my email newsletter.